The desert sun baked the airstrip into a shimmering mirage, the heat waves rising like ghosts from the ground. The F-35s sat gleaming under the brutal Arizona sun, their stealthy forms ready for flight. Airmen moved with precision, loading, inspecting, preparing. The scent of jet fuel and dust hung thick in the air, and the sound of engines roared like thunder. That's when she walked in, a woman in her late 20s, slender but sharp-eyed, her flight suit crisp, her steps firm. Every head turned. Captain Emma Hayes wasn't new to this world. She'd spent 10 years earning her wings, years of sweat, bruised pride, and sleepless nights. But to most on this base, she was just the new female pilot. The rumors whispered through the hangars long before she arrived, that her transfer from Edwards Air Force Base wasn't because of merit, but because someone up top wanted to check a diversity box. Colonel James Walker, the base operations commander, stood by the runway with a clipboard in hand, watching her approach. He was a hard man, silver hair, a square jaw, and eyes that had seen too many young pilots fail under pressure. To him, discipline was everything. Mistakes meant casualties, and in his world, there was no room for someone who hadn't proven themselves the hard way. When he saw Emma walking confidently toward the flight line, his jaw tightened. She was scheduled for a flight simulation test that morning, a simple protocol before taking actual command of an aircraft in live drills. But as soon as she reached the edge of the line, he stepped forward and barked, "Captain, this area is restricted until you've cleared full authorization. Step back." His voice carried through the hangar, sharp and commanding. Everyone stopped to look. Emma froze. She had received the clearance. She had triple-checked it before stepping out. But in that instant, surrounded by skeptical faces, something inside her wavered. She nodded quietly and stepped back, humiliation burning under her composure. That night, sitting alone in her quarters, she stared at the framed photo on her nightstand. Her father, Colonel Raymond Hayes, once a decorated Air Force legend. He'd died in a test flight when she was 15. The world remembered him as a hero. She remembered him as the man who'd told her, "Courage isn't loud. Emma, it's steady when the world shakes around you." She whispered those words again and again, until the ache in her chest dulled into resolve. Over the next few days, Emma did what she always did, worked harder than anyone else. She reviewed flight systems late into the night, memorized every code, every maneuver, every possible emergency scenario. While others slept, she studied. While others doubted, she prepared. She refused to let the whispers define her. Then came the morning of the live drills. The base was electric with anticipation. F-35s were lined up like steel falcons, ready to take to the skies. Colonel Walker briefed the pilots on comms, formation patterns, altitude holds, simulated engagements. Every pilot's call sign was listed on the screen, except one, hers. When the colonel finished, he looked up and said flatly, "Captain Hayes, you'll remain ground support today." A murmur rippled through the room. She felt her throat tighten. Ground support? It meant she wouldn't even be allowed to fly. She was just there to assist. She swallowed her pride, gave a tight nod, and turned to leave. But something in her stopped. Her father's voice again, steady when the world shakes. As the jets began to taxi toward the runway, a sudden alert hit the comms. One of the scheduled pilots, Captain Royce, had been grounded due to an engine irregularity. They needed an immediate replacement. Without hesitation, Emma stepped forward. "Sir, I'm cleared. My sim test passed top 3 in the group. I can take the slot." The room fell silent. Walker stared at her. His instinct was to say no, but the clock was ticking, and command needed all aircraft airborne for the exercise. He exhaled sharply. "Fine, you're up. Don't make me regret this." Moments later, Emma climbed into the cockpit. The seat felt like home. The canopy closed with a hiss, sealing her in. Her heartbeat synced with the hum of the jet's systems. Her fingers moved across the controls, muscle memory. The world outside faded away. All that remained was the sky waiting beyond the runway. On the ground, Colonel Walker watched her aircraft roll into position. "This is Ghost 1 ready for launch," came a voice over comms, the lead pilot. "Copy that," Walker replied. "All units confirm." Then came her voice. "Calm, steady, precise. This is Valkyrie 2, ready for takeoff." Walker's eyes widened. Valkyrie 2, that call sign, it wasn't random. It was the same call sign her father had used 20 years ago. Valkyrie 1. Walker froze, his breath catching in his throat. He had flown beside Colonel Raymond Hayes on his final mission. He remembered the night Hayes went down, remembered the fire, the silence over the comms, the grief that followed. And now that same voice, calm and strong, echoed in his ears again. Valkyrie 2 cleared for takeoff, he said softly, his voice almost trembling. Her F-35 roared down the runway, cutting through the desert heat and lifted into the blue. The sight was breathtaking, the kind of moment that made the air still. In the control tower, the staff watched as her aircraft merged seamlessly into formation, executing every maneuver flawlessly. The skepticism that once filled the room turned into quiet awe. Hours later, during a high-altitude engagement simulation, one of the jets reported a sudden system fault. The pilot's oxygen feed had failed, leaving him semi-conscious at 30,000 feet. In seconds, chaos filled the comms. Emma's voice broke through. "This is Valkyrie 2. I have visual on Ghost 3. He's losing altitude. Initiating intercept." Her movements were fluid, instinctive. She maneuvered beneath the failing jet, matching descent rates with impossible precision, her wings almost brushing his. "Come on, stay with me," she whispered to herself, guiding the crippled jet back toward breathable air. Her own systems began to overheat, alarms screaming, but she stayed locked in position. When the other pilot finally regained control, the entire control room erupted in disbelief. She'd just saved him. And the mission. When she landed, the hangar was silent at first. Then the airmen began to clap, slowly, hesitantly, until it grew into thunderous applause. Colonel Walker approached her, his expression unreadable. For a long moment he just looked at her, then saluted sharply. "Your father would be proud, Valkyrie 2. She returned the salute, her eyes glistening. "He taught me to fly, sir. I just never stopped." From that day forward, no one ever questioned her right to be there. Her name became a symbol of quiet strength, a reminder that courage doesn't always shout. Sometimes it flies steady through storms, proving its worth when the world stops believing. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like and share it. It helps us keep bringing these real, emotional military stories to you. Special request: tell us in the comments what does true courage mean to you?